believe this is not a once-off. We are going to be having ongoing engagement with the university, and where possible we bring up other partners. But we can only do that when we see that the investment that will be brought here is being utilized. So basically what I'm saying, I hope there are student representatives here. If they are not, please pass the message that firstly we would like them to protect the infrastructure. Even if they toy, please, the investment that we brought, they must protect it with their lives. It comes to that. And secondly, they must utilize it. We brought 2 multimedia centers. Each one is a 20-seater. And I was so delighted when I arrived here yesterday. We see that one of the multimedia centers is at the rest.
Yes.
So it's accessible to the student 24 hours. And that way, we enable our young people, because if we invest in young people as a country, we're going to have better returns, especially with the 4th industrial revolution that we're experiencing as a country. And COVID has taught us so much. So we cannot be relaxing and resting on our laurels. We need to explore all possibilities that are brought by the technology. With those few words, I would like to say, Sijabulile with Islana, and like I said, and through our colleagues also from MTN Business, because they can help you with other solutions that can leapfrog you to be like, compete with other universities like Bovet, Boston and Bosch, so that the students, whether they're coming from rural or whatever areas, they must not be left behind. I thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think in so far as convergence is concerned, it could not have been any better than this. And if there was any weight I could leave this in noting the time, it's the fact that this is a perfect moment of convergence. And I think everyone in the university can relate to that. And for that, you're still going to get vote of thanks and everything, but I think really that's really my opening line. And I think later my other colleagues will be speaking in a different phase of the program, will speak in detail to that effect. But on this note, just let's feel welcome, those who are from outside and those who are from inside as much. But we're going to have a beautiful day. I think it's already started that way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
University of Zululand Multimedia Center officially opened by Professor Oliswa Ntose, University of Zululand Vice Chancellor, on the 20th November 2020. Sponsored by MTN.
We brought the whole investment, including training. There's going to be training for the lecturers that will be utilizing this.
Yes.
Because it has got content for students that are doing nursing and medical related courses.
Yes.
So we're going to come and train 20 of those. And then we're also going to provide the digitized content is already there, it's available even offline.
Yes.
But we're also excited that the university has got Wi-Fi. So we believe it's a big milestone. I am a nurse.
Yes.
I trained at,
So that's why.
I studied at Medunsa. Yes, a long time ago, and physiology and anatomy was very, very challenging.
Yes.
For all the people that are doing medical studies, they know that anatomy and physiology is
Yes.
very difficult because the concepts are very abstract.
I know, I did read over.
Yes, so you know. But you see, with the demonstration here,
Yes.
this, when they talk about the heart, you see all the chambers.
Yes.
The eye, you can dissect it, you can
Wow.
see 3D. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Goodman, to please do a short demonstration.
Okay, thank you very much. The content that is not referred to the lab is visible through the projector, and this screen is actually interactive board.
No, don't go. We're going to stand behind you.
So the board is very interactive. You can use hands, you can write, you can erase, you can do a lot of things on the board itself. Yes. So this first icon there, it is a video that talks about the heart.
Heart. In this animation, we will learn about structure and function of the heart, flow of blood in a cardiac cycle. The heart is a complex pumping organ. If we look at a section of the heart, we observe that it receives deoxygenated blood from different parts of the body in its right atrium. Now, the tricuspid valve opens and the blood keeps flowing into the right ventricle. Then the right atrium contracts, pushing the remaining blood into the right ventricle.
Can we please go to the intensive whiteboard?
Yeah, so it will show you how the board can interact with a lot of things and features that can happen on this board.
That is our greeting at MTN. Of the day.
Wow.
Yay.
The story is about giving. The base human inclination is that of being self-centered and being preoccupied by one's own interests. It is a base of inclination that answers to the question, what's in for me? However, it is in giving of ourselves to others that we find our greatest sense of meaning. And so, as we search for meaning, one of the best places to look is outward towards others using the principle of charity. Too often, the meaning of charity is reduced to the act of giving alms or donating sums of money to those who are economically disadvantaged. But charity in its purest forms involves so much more. It includes the giving of our hearts, our minds, our talents in ways that enrich the lives of other people. And all people, regardless of whether they are poor or rich. His hit luck when he got a summer job as a porter on a train. During his service, he served a distinguished gentleman who engaged him in a conversation that included talk about his ambition. With the little money he amassed, Hanley Sr. went back to the college only to be summoned to the college president's office. In our parlance, we talk of a vice chancellor. It so happens that the distinguished man on the train had decided to sponsor Hanley Sr. for his studies. This enabled him to graduate first in his class, and the achievement earned him a full scholarship to Cornell University in New York. When Hanley produced his first and award-winning book, and in that proud moment, he was reminded of that man on the train. How his generosity that enabled me to be the famous writer he was to become. He writes sharply, I quote, "We children of Simon Hanley often reflect on Mr. Boyce, on his investment in a less fortunate human being. By the ripple effect of his generosity, we also benefited. Instead of being raised as a sharecrop farm, we grew up in a home with educated parents, shelves full of books, and with pride in ourselves. Mr. Boyce dropped like a blessing into my father's life. What some may see as a chance encounter, I see it as working of mysterious power for good, close quote. He concludes, and I believe that each person blessed with success has an obligation to return part of that blessing. We must all live and act like the man on the train. This true story resonates well with what MTN has done today. We hope that the students that will benefit from the generosity of the Spirit would also look at this very moment with a sense of gratitude and say, a stranger took a chance on us and gave us hope. This is true in the case since this multimedia center, now to be known as MTN Multimedia Center, is dedicated to students with living disabilities. These are students who, despite their challenges, are easily forgotten. In most planning sessions, they are an afterthought. The ease with which one receives multifold appreciations come from the aunties, in my case, of my university. The aunties that come and clean our offices. The norm of this university was in August, when we appreciate women. As educated people, we'll appreciate women that make meaning and forget Labo aunt who make us a university, who make us to have a table like this. When I took an initiative as a vice chancellor to say they matter too, the way they appreciate that every year when we do the Women's Day, there is nothing that gives me pleasure and joy when I join them each year, when the university formally recognizes them. When I first mooted the idea of this annual day of appreciation, many were surprised that they too can be invited. We formally recognize them, and I make it my business to make sure that above all who have got hats, above all who have got degrees, above all, they matter to me. For us, this is the way of saying to them, you matter and your lives matter. Thank you once more. May the spirit and the story of A Man on the Train by Alex Haley find expression, MTN, in your very lives. It is by giving to those that may not be able to return the favor that you will find the highest expression of humility. Thank you very much for choosing UNIZULU as that place. Thank you.
We have done so, as you heard earlier on by Angie, say that we've been to most of them. I'm very proud to say she's fought here. I know Vice Chancellor is linked to the Fort here, and Walter Sisulu, and now we're here at University of Zululand, so we're very proud to be actually here. It is done through this flagship schools and university to connectivity program, which provides holistic, comprehensive ICT solution that is structured on 3 pillars. Number 1, the effective use and integration of technology and digital content in a classroom through the construction of multimedia centers and provisions of the equipment, curriculum aligned software. So I think we saw with the demos that were given when we went to the multimedia center that has been realized. Training of the educators is very, very key to what we do, and we make sure they're equipped with the necessary skills to effectively use the technology in teaching. And 3, provisions of IT internet support, because we're just not going to leave you, know. And I think you heard Mrs. Judy saying, please, begging I hope the SRC president is still here with us, and there was a plea to say, please look after this and cherish this. You know, we're not putting these things are done. Not the price is not the most important thing. It's the enablement that's the most important thing. And we certainly hope that this will be cherished, and we'll definitely be back. Thank you for the opportunity that you've provided MTN to partner with you, and I don't want you to see this as something that's just a once-off. We're here to tick a box because there's some sort of budgeting now, whatever.
Yeah.
This is done. I'm representing the CEO of South Africa, MTN South Africa, together with the board. This is done from the bottom of our heart because we've got a deliberate intent. There's a deliberate intent to be able to provide education through ICT, and ours really is there to be with you, not for the long run. I know as we celebrate this year that the university was founded in 1960, that's almost 60 years, and we hope MTN will be here in 60 years' time, if not 100, and we'll still be together, as Pam said. So thank you very much for that, Program Director. Thank you, Vice Chancellor, and the fellow dignitaries for us, and thank you for the opportunity you've provided us. Thank you.
And your delegations, my colleagues within the university, Program Director. Vice Chancellor, when the Program Director says that he was worried he was going to speak for an hour, he was, there's what you call the power of suggestion.
Yes.
And the power of suggestion is that the next speaker must be brief.
At least you got it.
So, but I'll be remiss if I do not thank MTN Foundation through its representatives and May NG. I remember the first email that we sent to you, and it was actually before I joined the university. The eagerness with which you're willing to throw your hat and the MTN Foundation, and also to say this is actually our business, as that Matthew Kumalo has actually mentioned, is something that is commendable. And as my colleague Professor Kapola had also said, that this could not have come at a better time. In his celestial language, he calls that there's a confluence of factors and almost like a conspiracy of the elements of nature to say this is the time. And I couldn't agree more with him. But I also want us to take to heart what the VC was saying about the generosity of spirit, because it is that which defines what we mean about Ubuntu. And this exercise, as Nade Kumar was also saying, is bigger. It's bigger in my book, Nade Kumar. It's also about redressing the past. There was a deliberate, and I'm glad that you used the word deliberate, intention on your part to deal with the redress challenge. Just for the sake of the students who are going to be the inheritors of this property, the gadgets, this infrastructure, it is important for them to understand that we live in history. We are subject and object of history. And we are in the business of always creating history. And this is a history in the making. But we need to historicize these moments to understand that we are passing the baton based on the systemic underdevelopment of anything that had to do with Africans. Universities like University of Zululand and other so-called then Bush universities were systematically underdeveloped. And the underdevelopment was in a number of ways. The first one, Program Director, is the geographical location. That we had to be as far away from the cities as possible. That's why they were called Bush universities. If you look at all white universities, or historically white universities, they are all in the centers of cities, because the idea was to connect them to the centers of the economy. And we were placed deliberately in the periphery. So that was the first element of this systemic disadvantage. The second element was the programs that were offered. Through the leadership of the Vice Chancellor and the work that has been done by people like Mr. Kele, we can say proudly that the university is now going to offer new degrees which were not part of the historically disadvantaged universities. If you look at all the historically disadvantaged universities, they were not offering engineering because the idea was to put them in the periphery of the economy. But I'm raising this to abuse Mr. Kumalo's words that this is about their relationship, so that you should know that there's a need for us to invest in that area. But also to indicate the point that you're saying that the MTN Foundation is has an intention of making sure that we use ICT as a solution provider to educational problems. So in that, you'll find us very willing partners. The last two which are part of a systemic disadvantage is that we were also recipient of students who, through no fault of their own, were underprepared, and also through no fault of their own were financially disadvantaged. So we are a home of this disadvantage, but what we have done is to turn it around, to say these setbacks will strengthen us to a future that is actually different. So MTN's engaging with us and the generosity of spirit that is shown is about the redetermination of a different future. It calls, as both the VC and Mr. Kumalo and the NG had said in my first discussion with her on the phone. She said to me, Professor Sepe, if we put this infrastructure, how are you going to guarantee us that tomorrow it will not be destroyed? Effectively, what you are saying is that we have a tendency to shoot ourselves in the foot, mistaking that to be radicalism, militancy, when in effect it is a height of folly. All over the world, people value the infrastructure that builds them. So these gadgets, this infrastructure is there for the advancement of African people. So I want to urge not only students, but all of us here to continue to start rewiring our thinking around property. That it is our property. We must start having a sense of ownership. You must see how people, when they have a sense of ownership, even shoes, they spend hours polishing them, cars. But this is about the development of an African child. So I would like to say, joining the VC, joining the efforts by MTN Foundation, and the remarks that CSNG had been making privately, and even at the beginning, that you'll find in the IC director a very willing partner who will make sure that these gadgets, as you say, and that they are used. I used to have a boss that I shared with Professor Masocha. He had the state-of-the-art computer. When I arrived, I would go into his office and jealously look at that computer. Flat screen, when we used to have the old ones. It was in the plastic. 3 years later, when I left, it was still in the plastic. Because he wanted to protect. That's not the type of protection we mean. But we are saying these gadgets are not ornaments. They must be used to be part of the solution to our educational challenges. And we will do our part. And I want to thank you, MTN Foundation, CSNG, your delegation, Dade Kumalo, the Vice Chancellor, for making sure that this happens. And we take promises quite seriously. When somebody says it's a relationship, we're going to make sure we buttress that relationship.